Hello, everyone, and welcome to another super duper exciting episode of the Ultimate Comics Podcast. My name is Nabeel, and I am one of your hosts.
And I'm Josh, the other host.
And we have a special guest joining us once again today, returning to the pod, front of the pod, Annika Falconer. Say hi, Annika.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. We asked Annika on because we're breaking the format once again with our show, trying something new out. We usually talk about Ultimate Marvel, an imprint of Marvel from the early 2000s, but today it felt we had some more pressing matters to talk about, given this past week in All New Venom, number 9, by Al Ewing and Carlos Gomez, Mary Jane Watson, famous love interest of Spider-Man. I don't know if any of you listening have ever heard of her. Obviously you have. She broke up with her love interest, Paul, who she's been with for a few years now, for those of you following the Spider-Man comics. So we are here to discuss, give our thoughts, and actually debate our thoughts on Paul, because I, like a lot of people, am of the opinion that Paul sucks, never should have been a character, and this is a happy, triumphant moment in history, while Josh doesn't really share the same opinion as me.
I'm not a fan of Paul per se. I am more saying, Paul happened, and we should just stick with it.
So these are our arguments, and Annika has graciously, at the very last minute, honestly, just yesterday, agreed to moderate for us and keep things civil and structured so that we don't lose control and start strangling each other through the camera.
Well, to be fair, this happened because of an event that happened last second, so...
Well, it's breaking news, as they say, so sometimes you've got to just interrupt our regularly scheduled program, as they say, to talk about that breaking news.
You've got to just follow the story.
Yeah, and we have been experimenting with different episodes, formats, seasons, basically. And also, this is related to Ultimate Comics because the current run of Ultimate Spider-Man, I think, is a anti-Paul comic, basically.
And God bless that comic for that reason and that reason alone. I mean, not alone. There are other reasons, but man, if it wasn't for Ultimate Spider-Man, I would be in a bad place right now. I'll tell you that. And I'm so sad it's ending in December, on a side note. I'm very sad about that. But
I did not know that.
We'll see what happens. I don't know if it's going to be like ending for good, or if it's just Jonathan Hickman leaving, or if they're going to start a new volume of it, or what. That tangent aside, we just wanted to also explain to Annika, who is an unbiased, objective observer, the history of Paul as a character, what Paul represents in the history of Spider-Man comics, and get her feedback on all that. How are you feeling, Annika?
I'm excited to learn who this Paul guy is and why most of the internet hates him, but Josh doesn't. And we'll be defending him.
I'm defending him. I want to say I like him.
Okay. Yeah. You're just playing devil's advocate.
No, not exactly. I'm playing the role of Paul happened, you stick with it, you stick with him, and some of the storylines around Paul aren't necessarily bad.
Right. Okay.
So just commit to the bit, is what you're saying.
He exists.
Well, I think you'll hear more on my argument anyway, so...
Yeah, we'll stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Annika, for agreeing to be here, because I feel like us Spider-Man fans, as we get caught up in our passion and love for the comics and the characters, there is a lot of groupthink. I think a lot of us are not fans of Paul, hate it, aren't really a fan of the direction Spider-Man has taken post One More Day, the story that erased his marriage to Mary Jane, and we all agree on that, but sometimes it's nice to get an outsider's perspective just to see if our thoughts and feelings are as valid as we would like, or if maybe we're just getting a little carried away with our love and passion for the character.
Sure, yeah, I'm here to level set.
I will say we do have a Sony exec in the most technical sense of the term subscribed and listening to our podcast.
Shout out.
Isn't he an intern?
Tomato potato.
You just called him an exec.
Interns are execs.
We love you, Wally, and we hope to have you on our podcast soon. So let's just get into it. Are you ready to hear about this Paul character, Annika?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So Paul first appeared in 2022's Amazing Spider-Man #1, a new volume for the character. Every now and then, when they get a new creative team for a character in Marvel, they just renumber the title. because they don't want to confuse new readers and they just want it to make a good jumping on point to just be like, this is the new creative team, just start at number 1 instead of 900 and something, you know. Yeah, you don't have to worry about anything that came before Annika. All you need to know is that at the very end of Amazing Spider-Man #1 by Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr., Paul mysteriously appears at the end of the issue and is with Mary Jane, and they have 2 kids that have never before appeared. So this is all very shocking to longtime Spider-Man readers, because the whole issue just centers around, okay, so it's been 5 months since we last saw Spider-Man. All the superheroes hate him, his friends and family aren't happy with him, and he's also not with Mary Jane, and Mary Jane is actually with this dude named Paul, and they have kids, and we don't know how or why any of this happened.
It's been 5 months, but they have 2 kids?
We'll explain more of that in like a second.
That will be explained.
Yeah.
But that also shocked a bunch of us, like, what? Who is Paul? And who are these kids? And how? And what happened? And so, of course, Paul existing and the kids existing and MJ being with Paul and having this family, it's positioned as this big reason why Peter and MJ can't be together anymore. And there's a lot of tension in their relationship at that point, just as people. Peter wants to reconnect and reach out to her, but she's like, no, I'm with Paul. I have kids. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it's not a good time, Peter.
Yeah, which, for context, the previous run of Amazing Spider-Man before this ended with Peter and MJ together, and they were about to move in together.
Oh, ouch. Okay.
It's a pretty big pivot for this series.
So she moved on fast.
It was 5 months in real time, but we'll get to it. And then we get flashbacks a little while into the series, like a year and a half or so in. It flashes back to right before Peter and MJ were about to move in together, and this supervillain called the Emissary attacked them and sent them into another dimension, because this emissary villain had a grudge against Peter, and Peter had interfered in his scheming and shenanigans before. And Peter was his key to completing this ritual to ascend to godhood. It's all a bunch of mystical mumbo-jumbo.
It's secondary, honestly, at this point, the
villain stuff. Just don't worry about it. All you need to know is that Peter and MJ get sent into this other dimension. And in this dimension, which is like this dystopian landscape, people have been wiped out. There's just a bunch of like hellish creatures roaming around. And there they meet Paul, who is just there.
One of the hellish creatures.
Yeah, some might say.
One of the problems, like, I know I'm on the side defending Paul. One of the weird things with Paul in this is that the artists don't know what to do with him. So other times he's skinny and twinkish. Other times he's like giant and burly. And it alternates like between panels. So.
Yeah, there are different artists who take on the series. It's usually John Romita Jr., so he mainly looks the same throughout, but there's an issue drawn by Care Andrews, who is very influenced by the 90s. So Paul's proportions are so exaggerated. He's like buff. Yeah. He's like muscular. He's like a beefcake. Yeah. And he's also kind of a scientist. He's this like mathematician who was apparently there, and he was working for the villain, the emissary, or Rabin as they call him, and they were working on basically unlocking like the secrets to dimensional travel was the whole thing. But then the emissary was really using this to try and contact otherworldly beings or gods so he could ascend to godhood. It's a whole thing, but the whole thing basically is that they get attacked by a bunch of creatures, and they have created a device that will send one person back to Earth from this dimension. And they decide to send Peter back to Earth because Peter is who the emissary is after. So they send Peter back to Earth to protect him and themselves and the whole world. So that the villain can't get what he wants. And so Peter is working madly to like get back to this dimension and save Mary Jane, most importantly, but also to save Paul. And he's like in a hurry. He has no time to explain. He makes a bunch of enemies with the Fantastic Four and Captain America.
And MJ is the one that pushed him through in the very end to the other dimension.
She was the one to make the call to like send him back to Earth in the first place.
Oh,
and Peter gets back to this dimension eventually after like actually burning bridges with the Fantastic Four and Captain America, because he was in such a hurry. He like beat them all up and like stole technology from the Fantastic Four to get there. And he actually works with Norman Osborn to get back, but that's a totally different story.
Wow.
That's Willem Dafoe's character. For those who don't know.
The former Green Goblin. The artist formerly known as the Green Goblin. And by the time Peter gets back to this dimension, they manage to fight off the emissary. And it's revealed, though, that Paul and MJ were trapped in this dimension for 4 years, and that time moves very differently in this dimension. So it was really just like a few days for Peter, or like a week or so, was years for them. And so now Paul and MJ are in a relationship, and they also happen to have these children who they found in this dimension. The children were just there in this dimension, and so they adopted them and raised them as their own. Yeah, how convenient. These children just appeared.
This is the dimension with just like otherworldly creatures and things. There were no other humans there.
Yes. Just the kids.
And then just these 2 children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's never explained how the children got there.
We're gonna get there.
Explained.
It's
explained.
Okay.
So it's been so long that Peter is like, well, we were just getting ready to move in together. But for MJ, she's like, sorry, Peter, I'm not leaving him, especially because now they have kids together. And so now there's a lot of tension between the two of them. And the tension is heightened because Peter also learns that Paul is the emissary's son. He's like the son of the main villain. And that's why he was there. And that's why he was working with him.
Okay, which Paul just conveniently forgot to tell everyone.
Yeah, he just hid it because he was ashamed and guilty for the part that he played in helping the emissary murder everyone in their home dimension, because he was ignorant of what he was doing until it was too late.
Okay.
So MJ was aware he was who he was.
Yeah, and MJ's like, oh, but you guys are the same. You both carry guilt and shame over your mistakes, and you both try to make up for it, and you're both good people. And I'm like,
yikes.
Okay, MJ, I don't think it's
good
the
people
same
on
thing.
both sides.
Yeah.
I don't like that argument.
And then in the present day, back in the present, after they explain how all that happened, then the emissary eventually returns and tries to kill MJ so that way he can complete this ritual. He then also reveals, the emissary, that he created these children, and the purpose was to bind MJ to him for that ritual. And so then, yeah, I know, right, Annika? Annika is losing her shit right now. For those of you who can't see us.
This is
the ultimate god complex. He created life.
Yes.
To become a god, or just like as a little side quest?
As a side quest in his quest to become a god.
Yes, this is like, this is where like convoluted comic stuff comes in.
Did he like impregnate somebody?
No.
They just materialize.
They're like magical spells where like they think they're alive, but they disappear after the thing is complete, basically.
Okay.
Just to skip forward a second.
And Paul and MJ didn't know this?
No, they did not know. These children had been fabricated by the villain. And then after that, the children then vanish, and the villain is defeated, but the children gone. They disappear as if they never existed, and it's a traumatic experience for both Paul and MJ, especially because Paul sees the children vanishing before his eyes.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
and honestly, I don't think I'd ever seen people on the internet so happy to see children die before.
Oh my god.
Memes were going around of like Michael Jordan going, "Fuck them kids."
Whoa. Guys.
People hated these children.
Well, they're not. Are they? They're not real.
Oh, they're
not real.
So we can hate them.
No, they're sentient. They feel the pain of dying as they disappear. They are sentient.
But they were not naturally born.
They're sentient though.
You're saying test tube babies aren't real people.
They're mystical creations.
They're test tube babies. They're mystical creations that weren't aware they're mystical creations and have developed sentience and are aware they're dying.
They're mystical test tube babies that were killed.
Yeah,
it's still sad, but
it's sad.
Do we want them back? Like
no, but fuck them.
We don't. Fuck them kids.
The internet doesn't. Okay.
I also don't want them back, but
nobody wants the kids back. Okay, it's good that we're not debating that because
nobody cares about the kids. Like, get rid of the kids. That's a stupid plot line.
That's the American way.
Well, it's such a weird thing because with Spider-Man, other than Mayday, no one likes any of the kids that pop out in Spider-Man comics. No one likes the Gwen Stacy, Norman Osborn baby. No one likes there's all these weird babies.
What's happening with Gwen Stacy?
It was retconned. It was retconned, Josh.
But this happens all the time where you get weird love interest babies that then get retconned away. So, like, you know.
Yeah, like, if
And
you
no
want
one
us to
ever
go
hates
into
them.
Sin's past, it was a bad story that got retconned.
And
But
all these
originally,
babies,
it was said that
No.
Gwen had an affair with Norman Osborn,
Oh no.
Yeah.
and they secretly had 2 kids
but
that
Real
returned in the
kids
present
or
day.
like
fake kids.
fake children?
Look, this happens all the time in Spider-Man comics, and everyone gets happy when the kid dies or is revealed not to be real. But the instant you kill Mayday Parker, everyone goes like, "How dare you, comic writers? You're killing my childhood dreams."
Yeah, well, it's funny that like the most well-beloved kids in Spider-Man have taken place in like alternate universes. So like Spider-Girl from the MC Squared universe, which is just an alternate future where Peter and MJ have a daughter who becomes Spider-Girl.
Yeah.
There's
A
also
real daughter?
Yes,
Or...
a real daughter.
Okay. So there are real children in
There's
some
Annie
comics.
Mae Parker as well, who is from the Renew Your Vows universe, a universe where One More Day never happened and Peter and MJ had a daughter.
It sounds like such a wholesome comic.
Yeah, there's Ultimate, the current Ultimate, where they have Richard and May.
At the end of One More Day, there's even a scene where the devil turns into Mayday, go like, "Look what I took from you guys!" Ha ha ha! And then
Not the devil.
Having children in the main universe is cursed for Spider-Man.
Also,
Yeah,
we keep talking about One More Day. I don't know if Annika knows, but I think we should explain to our listeners what One More Day is. Like 1 minute, right?
All right. Well, basically, what One More Day is that back in 2007, editorial didn't like that Peter and MJ were married and that it aged Spider-Man allegedly to be married because it made him seem old. They didn't think stories would be interesting if he was just with one person and married, and they didn't want to see him grow old and have kids in the comics. They wanted to keep him perpetually young.
So they had Peter Parker sell his marriage to the devil.
Yeah. They had him sell his marriage to the devil because Aunt May had just been shot and was in a coma. He and MJ sold their marriage to Mephisto so that they could save Aunt May's life.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
She was also super old, like already by then.
So what are they saving?
Aunt May's life.
An old woman.
But
who was
it's only a matter of time before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now the devil owns you.
No, the devil owns their marriage.
Oh, wait, what does that mean?
The marriage never happened. The devil just wanted the marriage to end. The devil
it was basically retcon that, like, so they were together this whole time up until now, but they were never married. And then also they broke up pretty much after this because history was altered, so they don't even remember making a deal with the devil now.
And
at this point,
the devil is a sneaky shit.
Deal with the devil ends with the devil transforming into the daughter they would have had.
Yes.
For a second, just
and
to
being
mock
like,
dark.
Yeah, if you hadn't made this deal, you would have had me, your daughter.
And in Nick Spencer's one, which is the one right before Zeb Wells, who's the one who created Paul, it was hinted that Mary Jane knows about the deal, and that the reason the devil made that deal was because that daughter would have been the one to overthrow the devil and end evil.
Yeah,
so,
the whole thing is that Mayday Parker, Spider-Girl, would be the one to like overthrow Mephisto and defeat him once and for all. And he didn't want that, so he wanted to prevent her from being born.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty interesting explanation. I think Nick Spencer did the best he could with his Spider-Man run.
Tried to put those pieces together.
Yeah, like just to try to make sense of like a dumb storyline, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because why does the devil care about like two random people's marriage?
It's stupid. It was like entirely editorial mandate. Joe Quesada, the editor-in-chief of Marvel at the time, really just did not want Peter Parker married. And to be fair, it's not just him. People in editorial at Marvel since then have not wanted a married Peter Parker. Plenty of people have spoken out about that. And that's not something that I agree with personally. I can see where they're coming from because a lot of them grew up with a non-married Peter Parker, and that's how they knew Spider-Man and knew the stories and kind of want it to be timeless in that way. But I also think the characters should grow and change.
It's also frustrating because I get the idea that like these characters are on a sliding timeline. You have to keep them frozen for the kids. But then like there's other characters in Marvel that age and you go like, okay, why are these other young characters now like middle-aged with kids? And Peter Parker, who's been around longer than them, still single because of this weird comic line storyline where he had to do a deal with the devil to end his marriage.
Yeah, like you look at characters like Cyclops from X-Men is pretty much the same age as Peter Parker, and he's already had like 2 children and is married.
Did he have real children?
Yes.
I mean,
kind
yes.
of. Kind of.
Oh.
Yes, one of them is a child from an alternate future.
Both of them are his
And
children from
one
an
of them
alternate future.
he did have in the main universe and got sent into the future and then came back. It's complicated. That's X-Men stuff. We don't have to worry about that.
But
anyways,
but the Young Mutants have also now have kids too, which is frustrating.
But getting back to Paul once again. So after those kids have been annihilated, MJ and Paul.
Don't be so happy about it.
I'm sorry, I can't help but smile
He's
when I say
grinning like a fool.
He
Love the child annihilation.
Fuck them kids. So MJ and Paul still stay together, even though they're deeply traumatized by this event. And then MJ uses this device that they created while they were in this other dimension that gives you like superpowers. It's like a roulette game, like a slot machine or whatever, where you play the slot machine and it just gives you whatever power of chance at that moment. And so she becomes the superhero known as Jackpot, because her whole motivation is she is mourning her children and wants to honor their memory and do something good. But the name is stupid. The powers are stupid. The whole superhero motif of Jackpot is dumb, in my opinion.
The name comes from MJ's famous line is "Face a tiger, you hit jackpot."
It's very on the nose.
It's also funny because like that's also the last words she said to Peter in their marriage is like, "We face a tiger, we hit jackpot," and then the marriage ends.
Yes.
So it rubs it in even harder.
Comes full circle.
Yes. And so while MJ is Jackpot, Paul is like her guy in the chair. He's like helping her be a superhero. Yes. And then eventually Peter reconciles with MJ and Paul and gets to be on good terms with them. He starts dating this character named Shay, who I find equally as uninteresting as Paul. She also doesn't have much of a personality. Anyways, enough on that. We might do a Shay episode, but I don't even think she really doesn't.
I don't think
she
has enough material for us to do it.
There's nothing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Shay's she's not bad. She's not good either. But then later on, an all-new Venom appears, and there's a mystery surrounding it, and eventually revealed that this all-new Venom is Mary Jane, and she has bonded with the Venom symbiote after the Venom War, and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so this reveal and this new relationship she has since she has bonded to an alien symbiote now creates tension with Paul in the all-new Venom series by Al Ewing and Carlos Gomez. And eventually, in the latest issue, we get to the present moment this past week where she finally just breaks up with Paul and says, "This isn't working. This hasn't been working for a while. I'm breaking up with you." And also, as a side note, they took in Dylan Brock, the son of Eddie Brock, the original Venom, because I think Paul just needed to fill the void of his missing children.
Yikes.
By the way, listeners, I got the news that Paul and Mary Jane were broken up because Nabeel like happily texted me. It's like, they're broken up. Yeah!
I mean, listen.
Finally.
Along with the rest of the internet, we've all been rejoicing, all right? And it's a glorious, glorious time. I really hope this sticks. I just hope Paul disappears. But, like, that's going to be for my argument later. I'm like, great. Thank God. Thank you, Al Ewing. Thank you, Carlos Gomez. Thank you, Marvel Comics. Because we don't need Paul. We never needed Paul. Let's just do away with this and be done with it. Like, it was stupid. Paul's stupid. Anyways, we haven't even gotten to my argument. I'm getting ahead of myself. But that's the rundown, Annika.
Yep,
what are your thoughts?
That's going to be your argument. Paul is stupid. Okay.
That will be my argument.
That's
and I will go into full detail about why.
That's literally what the script for Nabeel's end says. Paul is stupid. Paul is dumb. He never should have happened. The end.
Hey, we'll get to my part.
It's going to be a lively and educational debate.
Yes.
I hope you've enjoyed this educational experience, Annika.
Yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot about who Paul is as a person, as a father. You know, can't wait to hear why he's stupid.
Josh.
Yes,
take it away.
All right, so Paul itself, I'm gonna be honest, is not a likable character, and I think to a certain degree that's the point. Here's the thing: people go like, "Oh, like." He just is there to cuck Peter, and that's true. He's there to cuck Peter. But also, the relationship between MJ and Peter was already forcibly ended by corporate. That's my take, is that one more day happened. And Nabeel and I were joking about this. Like, unless you could go back in time and waste a time travel on going back to the 2000s and convincing Marvel Comics to get rid of and never do one more day happened. The relationship, the marriage between MJ and Peter the marriage is over. And the relationship is honestly toxic now. By human standards, it is toxic. They get together and break up, get together, break up, which is like happens with a lot of characters. But like realistically, that's a very toxic relationship. If you like have a friend who gets together with this person and breaks up, gets together and breaks up, it's a toxic relationship. And frankly, you can't just retcon anything you don't like. And also, like a lot of stuff that was bad when they first come out, if you just change it a bit or condense it, and I think you could do this with Paul, it comes out a little better. And the big example is, and I'm sorry we're just throwing these Spider-Man storylines at you, at the listeners and you, Annika, but one is the Clone Saga, which is a very infamously bad storyline that has kind of like aged rather well because Marvel has since condensed it for readers to read all at once instead of like dragging it on over years. And similarly, I rushed through the Zeb Wells run of Spider-Man. I'll be honest, it was a little rough. But if you read them and with knowledge of what happens, the thing with Paul is not that bad. I would actually say it's the best thing about the Zeb Wells run. And also, like, it's a very realistic take on a breakup. And not like a breakup like Spider-Man and MJ, where they get together, break up, get together, break up. It's a very realistic one, because it's finally this idea that Peter has to move on from MJ. Like, he ended the marriage. Like, yes, he doesn't remember ending the marriage, but he ended the marriage. Mary Jane is hostile to him, not because of anything he did, other than ending the marriage, which she probably knows about. It's because, like, she's moved on. She waited 4 years, she waited all these other years, and she's moved on. And just because she loved him in the past in a certain way doesn't mean that love continues. And my example is, but listeners don't know, I was a first responder for a bit. I know many other first responders, soldiers, and doctors, and oftentimes they get together with a man or a woman who loves them for like, oh, like you put your life on the line. But after over many years, the stress and strain of that changes things. Mary Jane may have wanted Peter Parker because he was Spider-Man in the past, because it shows a selfless character to him and the sense of duty. But there's strain in that. The biggest one is the fact she literally had to wait 4 years in another dimension. She's moved on, and that's my take. Is that it's not an unrealistic breakup. It may at times be clumsy, but it's realistic. And Peter Parker has to move on. One more day happened. Paul is not the rock that breaks the mirror of the marriage. Someone already threw like pebbles at the mirror for years. Marvel Comics has been doing it for over a decade. You gotta just shatter at this point. And when it shatters, it shatters. MJ's hostile first, but they get together. Peter's depressed. MJ is hostile, but they make it up. And Paul honestly is a decent guy during this time. He's the one that actually tries to be kind to Peter. He pays off his medical bills. Like, what kind of person does that to your girlfriend's ex, paying off a week's worth of medical bills? So that's my take.
You're right, that is toxic. Thank you for the opening statement, Josh.
Thank you.
Very eloquent glass mirror rocks metaphor in there somewhere.
Thank you. I just came
Nabeel,
up with it.
Your opening statement, please.
Well, I would just like to make the argument that Paul is not even really a character. Paul is a plot device. Paul's entire reason for being is to cockblock Peter and make his life miserable. There are no real defining characteristics of Paul, other than he's a hipster with a man bun who is the son of a villain and makes a really good chicken korma. Given Paul's random appearance at the very end of Amazing Spider-Man #1 back in 2022, the readers were given massive whiplash because the previous run just ended with Peter and MJ agreeing to move in together. So it's pretty clear this character was made to be hated. He was made to be an obstacle in Peter Parker's life, rather than an actual flesh and blood kind of a character that you would put in the comics. Even Dylan Brock hates him. Dylan Brock, the son of Eddie Brock, aka Venom. After we got Al Ewing writing Dylan Brock in All New Venom to roast Paul, everyone became fans of him. When people were kind of lukewarm on the character before, that shows you the power that fans have in their disdain of Paul, that they suddenly love anyone who hates Paul. There's nothing that really makes you feel like this should be like a mainstay of the Spider-Man cast. Nothing that makes you think, yeah, I like this Paul guy. He's a good member of Peter's supporting cast. He was there to get between Peter and MJ. He was there for a dumb fake children plotline. And also, the whole plotline went against Mary Jane's character. I want to say this was all character assassination for Mary Jane. Her whole backstory was literally she saw her abusive father and how he treated her mother and the rest of her family, saw how her sister Gail went through her abusive relationship with her husband, and said, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to be tied down to a family, and I'm not going to end up in a situation like that. When, at the end of this story, she says she's not leaving Paul because now they have a family. They have kids, and she's literally ended up in almost the same position as her sister. Granted, it's not abusive, but she's really just allowed herself to be tied down to this random family when she literally was just in a relationship with someone that went for years before that. It was also so convoluted and sloppily done. If they had just had them break up a natural way, like, I'm sick of this, being your Spider-Man all the time and it's put me in danger and it's made my life hell, maybe. But all it's really done is really just to, like, make some crazy otherworldly excuse to split up Peter and MJ. I also want to say, I sent Annika the image of the breakup scene between Paul and MJ, and it's illustrated beautifully. The sun is shining. They're like in a heavenly zone. This is a happy, joyous occasion. And Carlos Gomez, the artist, knows it. He's been pretty clear on his social media how he feels about Paul, and I think the rest of us know it too. I think Paul as a character is not the problem with Spider-Man comics at the moment. But I think he is a symptom of all the steps backwards that Spider-Man and Mary Jane have taken since One More Day. Just his existence and the constant reminder of Peter's pain and misery just turned the title into misery porn. That's my statement. And we don't need any more. We've seen enough of Spider-Man being miserable. Can we just give him a win for a change? Let's get rid of Paul.
You just want him retconned out.
You don't even need to retcon him. Write
just
him out.
Erase him.
Yeah, if MJ breaks up with him and he leaves and never comes back, that's fine. If, like, they randomly kill Paul off, I won't care. Just get rid of him. But also, the damage has been done, and it's been so bad that, like, at this point, yeah, honestly, one thing I do agree with you, Josh, is, like, there's no point in getting Peter and MJ back together now after this whole Paul plotline. Because before, maybe you could have undone One More Day. I mean, that is granted if editorial wasn't against that idea, but they are against it, so there wasn't going to be a chance of them undoing it. But let's say, for argument's sake, editorial was like, let's undo One More Day. They could have done it before Paul, but now they've dug a huge hole for them. Like, so many readers hate Peter and MJ together. They hate MJ now because of how she's been written. They hate the whole situation and are sick of it and want to be done with it. And all of this is because of this stupid Paul plotline that we've had going for years now.
Yikes, that's pretty strong. Okay. I think it's time for rebuttals.
Yes,
Josh?
I have a rebuttal. I don't think this is character assassination of Mary Jane Watson, first of all. Her big thing is, yeah, I don't want to be tied down in an abusive and restrictive family environment. But she has for years now, and that's Spider-Man and Peter Parker. It's not purposely abusive. Peter doesn't beat MJ. He's very kind to her. He loves MJ. MJ loves Peter. But it is an abusive relationship. Like, to study for this, I power read. There's so much of that comic. But I also read One More Day, and that comic ends with her upset that Peter just ended, maybe not a perfect, but a genuine loving marriage to save an old lady who was gonna die and probably wouldn't have wanted this to happen.
Well, it wasn't just some old lady, right? It was his, his
but
aunt.
Yeah, it's his aunt, and I don't want to be that guy, but like, it happens to all of us, and even Mary Jane points it out. Hey, this happens to all of us.
He really didn't want to be that guy.
He didn't want to be that guy. And it goes like, yeah, but like, she's not dying of cancer or a heart attack. She's dying of a bullet wound that was meant for me. And even like the whole comic is about MJ and everyone going, hey, that sucks, man. But she's old. Like that sucks. But we all go through. We're all gonna lose our parental figure. And the one thing she wants is, if she was alive, was, hey, I don't want you guys to end your marriage to save my old ass. And everyone points it out to her. Like, Iron Man points it out. Like, different heroes point it out. MJ points it out many times. She goes like, I don't think this is worth ending our marriage over. And she honestly gets upset over it. Especially because now we know in other comic runs she may actually have not lost her memory. So this whole time, while Spider-Man is not aware of this marriage and going on dates with different women, she remembers a marriage he ended. That's an abusive relationship. And I don't think that should have happened. Marvel corporate dug a hole, and they've done this with many other characters. Comic book companies do this. Writers have done this. DC Comics did this with Hal Jordan. Marvel Comics in the past has done this with some of the X-Men and Beast. It's done where you do a bad thing to a character, but the best thing is honestly just to move on and keep going with it. And maybe Paul was done a little sloppily. I think it was not that bad. The Paul specifically, especially I think in 5 years, if something like the way they did Clone Saga could redo Paul in a way. Yeah, you're right. I don't think you could get past Paul. But maybe for Peter to find real happiness as a character is to move past MJ. Most of us will go through a traumatic breakup at least once or twice in our lives. And it sucks, but especially if it was with the genuine love of your life whose marriage you sold to the devil. But maybe Peter, to find happiness, he just has to get past MJ. MJ has clearly got past him, moved past him. That's my
rebuttal. Your argument is Paul is the foil to Peter and that he serves as a healthy relationship for MJ?
That actually why he was written. Paul is supposed to, even though they do it in a weird way by making him the villain's son, which to make him more interesting, but he's supposed to be this idea that he is Peter if Peter never became a superhero. He's nerdy like Peter, he's scientific like Peter, he's caring to MJ like Peter. He wants to have this family and stable life with MJ. And he also has that sense of duty like Peter. He's shown to be, he paid off Peter's medical bills, even though, that's your girlfriend's ex. And it wasn't the best, I admit, but he is supposed to be a genuine foil to Peter.
Same.
Yeah, okay. That's my rebuttal.
Nabeel? To the rebuttal?
Well, I'm gonna fuck you up, son.
Oh,
all right.
Okay. Let's keep it clean, please.
All right.
We haven't kept it clean yet, so.
I have a rebuttal. So
Reboot.
I'm just gonna respond to quite a few of your points because I was taking notes in my head.
We have an actual notebook for this. Just saying.
I don't need it. I'm that good, son.
Okay. It's about to go down.
Here's the thing. With one more day, MJ was the one to accept Mephisto's deal. MJ was the one who said, yes, it's there on the page. She was the one to say, yes, you monster. And she was the one to make the final decision to sell their marriage to Mephisto. I wouldn't just put it on Peter. I would not call this an abusive relationship. Sure, she might have been influenced by the fact that she knew Peter would have felt guilty for the rest of his life over Aunt May dying because he feels like it's his fault. But she made the decision. She's a grown woman and she made it. And at the end of the day, they have to share the weight of that. I don't think she holds it against Peter because, as it says on the page, she said yes. In addition, you brought up Hal Jordan and Beast doing terrible things and just having to run with it. Well, that's not entirely the case. In the case of Beast in X-Men, for those of you who don't know, including you, Annika, who have graciously agreed to join us today.
Yes, please.
Beast, from the X-Men, he was a very happy-go-lucky scientist of the X-Men and just this blue furball guy who helped solve a lot of their scientific problems. He was an original founding member of the X-Men. Since, I want to say, probably the 90s, it felt like he was taking a darker turn towards more morally ambiguous decisions and making harder choices, generally becoming a little grayer in morality, until eventually he became almost a straight-up villain. And eventually the solution to this, because the hole had been dug so deep, was the real Beast eventually died, and they resurrected a backup of Beast, of his mind that they had created, into a cloned body, and this backup was backed up only up to the mid 80s when he was a member of the Defenders. So this new Beast is basically old Beast before he did any of that morally ambiguous shit. So he got a clean slate, buddy. They moved on from that. I think it's well done in how they have to deal with his actions as old Beast who died, and he has to grapple with who he became in another life and the consequences of that and what that means for his future, which is well done. But at the same time, it's not like they just ran with it and kept moving. They had to wipe a clean slate for this guy. Similarly, with Hal Jordan became a villain. He murdered so many members of the Green Lantern Corps, became a full-on supervillain before sacrificing his life seemingly to reignite the sun. And when they resurrected him, Jeff Johns in Green Lantern Rebirth made a retcon that Hal Jordan was infected by the fear entity Parallax that turned him into a villain, an idea that was not there before. So they didn't just run with it. they came up with a solution that made it so that he was not a full-on villain. He still had to deal with the consequences of his actions and with the ramifications and save his reputation and make up for everything he did. But he also wasn't fully responsible because he had been infected by a literal fear parasite, an entity that embodied fear. Similarly, in this case, they don't just have to run with it. I have been thinking up some solutions for this issue. And if Marvel is listening and would like to use these solutions...
Well, Marvel's not listening, but Sony's listening, technically, in the most technical sense.
Here's one solution.
Let's hear it.
If you want to salvage this relationship and all the damage that has been done since the whole Paul debacle, why don't we just say the MJ that came back from this other dimension is not the same MJ that went in the first place, and the real one is still stranded in that dimension?
Nice.
What if that was the case? Then we can just, again, clean slate, like with Beast, all over again. That would be pretty cool.
Didn't we write this comic together before? Yes.
So you're on my side, is what you're saying.
No!
That's how you win a
Solution
debate.
number 2 I have. Ultimate Spider-Man is part of the new Ultimate Universe, where Peter Parker wasn't bitten by that radioactive spider until he was in his mid-30s. And he's married to MJ, and they have 2 kids, Richard and May. And it's everybody's dream for what they want Spider-Man to be now, is to be married with children and to be a more mature adult version of the character. That series is ending in December. Now, this is a wild and crazy idea, but it has precedent. I would love to see if anyone has the guts to do it at Marvel. They do some crazy event where basically all you do is merge the main universe Peter and MJ with Ultimate Universe Peter and MJ and bring their kids into this universe. Might not fly super well, but they did it in DC with pre-New 52 Superman and post-New 52 Superman. New 52 being like a rebooted version of the DC universe.
That's kind of like the ultimate. That's kind of like the ultimate of DC, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah. It was, except basically what DC did was they just rebooted their entire continuity, and like it was very unclear as to like what was canon and what wasn't anymore. And they had younger versions of their characters, and Superman wasn't with Lois Lane anymore, and they didn't have a kid like they had in the pre-New 52 universe. People weren't fans of that, and so years later during DC Universe Rebirth, they brought in pre-New 52 Superman and Lois with their son Jonathan, and eventually did an event where they merge pre-New 52 and post-New 52 Superman, so it becomes one character.
Take that, Marvel.
This is not DC, and I know DC definitely does more reboots with continuity and messes with that a little bit more, but I swear, you would not regret it if you merged 616 Peter with our 6160 Peter. I think that would be fantastic. Give us a mature adult Spider-Man that also has the memories and life of 616 Peter, and fix this whole post One More Day shit show we have going on. Because I'll say, Marvel has done some great stories with Spider-Man post One More Day. I don't think it entirely ruined the character, but it made it difficult for us to see any direction forward with the character if we were constantly just going to be resetting Peter to being a broke 20-something-year-old who can't catch a break and is on an on-again, off-again relationship with MJ. That's my pitch.
Nice. Marvel, are you listening?
Tony's listening.
Solid pitch.
I would love if anyone at Marvel was listening, because I think that's it. Merge them. Just merge them.
There's a CEO. There is a CEO of a minor car company listening, by the way. I don't know how I got him to listen, but yeah.
Is it a CEO or is it another intern?
Josh? Yeah.
No, this one is the actual...
Wally, a Sony executive.
Okay, fine. This one is an actual CEO, and the only reason he's listening is because I talked to him on the plane by accident.
Well,
shout out.
Happy coincidence.
Yeah.
Good fortune smiles upon you.
Thanks
so,
for listening, sir.
I Perlmutter is, kind of old. You could buy Marvel from him and change it. But, may I say something?
Please.
Yes, go ahead.
Look, your ideas are fine. The problem is, these are, crazy comic book ideas. This is the reason people go, comics aren't a serious medium. The comics can't, are hard for newcomers. It's because of crazy shit like this. Same with the Beast stuff and the Hal Jordan stuff. We don't need these crazy retcons. So one of the defining MJ Spider-Man comics is Kraven's Last Hunt, where at the end, past the climax of the comic, Peter Parker makes love to MJ after a stressful day of almost dying and getting buried alive. But that's based on Dostoevsky's.
I love Annika's reaction to this.
Where are you going with this, Josh?
You'll see where I'm going with this. That's based on a Russian
Please tell
book.
me this relates to the
It does.
debate.
It does. That's part of Dostoevsky. It was based off somehow Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. But maybe we should do this what Tolstoy did in Anna Karenina, where it's about moving on and finding peace with it. Peter loves MJ, and part of loving someone, if you're in a relationship with them, is loving them like in their new state. And just as the main character in Anna Karenina makes peace with the fact that his wife cucked him and got pregnant with someone else's kid, it's time for Peter to love MJ, but not as like a partner anymore. He needs to realize she's moved on. Even she's moved on with Paul. She's moved on with a different stage in her life. And so does he. He will find happiness. He should find happiness. He deserves happiness. But he's going to have to find it with someone other than MJ, or with MJ, but not as a romantic partner. Because, you know, for a while, Spider-Man comic writers were like really into Russian literature for some reason. I mean, we all go through that phase, I guess. But yeah.
Sounds like
Listen, Craven's Last Hunt is a masterpiece.
Yeah,
J.M. DeMatteis, I love you if you're listening. On the off chance you are, I would love to have you on the show. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man writers. Yes, all hats off to him. And yes, it does reference a lot of Russian literature.
For some reason.
If you haven't read that, Annika, which you definitely haven't, I would recommend Craven's Last Hunt. It's a great story.
And Crime and Punishment.
I'll add it to the list. Yeah, I haven't read that either.
Like, yeah, it's based off of Crime and Punishment for some reason by Dostoevsky.
Never heard of it.
If I am pronouncing it right.
Close enough.
Yeah.
I feel like what we haven't explored yet is the ethics of the time jump interdimensional travel thing, and the fact that Peter's only been gone for a few months, but to MJ it's been like years. Can we dive into that a little bit, and the ethics of like Paul's existence and all of that?
It's funny because right before you got on the call, me and Nabeel were like debating it actually.
Okay, well, save it for the podcast, guys.
Yeah, well, we were just trying to hash our thoughts. If I may go, Nabeel, I know I just went, but
no, go for it.
I compared it to another non-comic book, Band of Brothers. There's a character in Band of Brothers based on, I mean, it's a real story, who falls in love with a British woman whose husband died in World War II, and he comes back after the war to her, and he finds out that her original husband was alive this whole time, and he was just missing, and now he's found. And she has to make a debate about which husband she goes back to, because she has two husbands. Same thing with MJ. Whatever decision she makes isn't the wrong decision. Yes, it sucks for Peter, who had no idea this was happening, because to him it was like a few months. But for MJ, it's been years. She has waited, and it wasn't wrong for her to assume Peter would never come back, because she waited such a long time. So, like, her going with Paul, and by the way, like, in the comics, it shows like the time jump, that how for her has been years, how she waited for Peter, how she's loyal. So she has waited that long. She didn't do what was morally wrong by going with Paul. It's been years for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Nabeel?
I think it's fair. I think that's not wrong. I also think it's fucking stupid, because now you just come back to Peter and you're like, yeah, sorry. Like, I know for you, like, no time at all has really passed, but I'm done. I'm not leaving him. So have a nice life. It's just, and she feels no connection to him at all at that point. She doesn't even feel torn, honestly, is the thing. There's no conflict there shown at all. You would think if you were with a long-term partner before that, even if it had been a few years, that would come back to you and you'd be like, no, what do I do now? I'm with this new person and we have this family now, but I considered this person the love of my life before. Like, we had plans for each other, we had a future together, and now that's back, that possibility is back on the table, but I also have this new life I've created. What do I do? There's not even a hint of conflict there. There's not even any internal conflict. She's just like, sorry, nope. And I might add, then she is like treating Peter like the bad guy for the rest of this run, because he keeps trying to get in contact or be like, hey, do you want to grab coffee? Do you want to just talk? And she's like, no, fuck off. Leave me alone. Like,
they call him Stalker, actually.
And, yeah, like, she doesn't try to understand from his perspective. It's been like a few days, maybe a week or something since I was gone, and you tried so hard to save me and like made it to this dimension. He sacrificed so much to go to this other dimension to save her, and she's like, leave me alone, I've got a new life, you don't understand. She's like, I have a responsibility. And to tell Spider-Man, of all people, that he doesn't understand responsibility is so laughable. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, seriously? She doesn't even want any kind of a connection to him anymore, and makes him seem like a bad guy for just wanting some kind of a relationship with her, which is not fair to him at all, because no time has really passed. For her it has, for sure, but for him, he's like major whiplash. All of a sudden she's with this new person, all of a sudden she has these kids, and there's nothing there.
Is that in character for her thus far in the story, to just move on from things like that? Is it out of character that she does that?
I would call it out of character. I would call this whole run out of character for her.
Okay.
This was major character assassination.
I don't think it's character assassination. I think it was a little sloppy the way they did it, and because it condensed like years into a few months. But there is a conflict. So when you said like there's no torn nature between MJ and choosing between Paul and Peter, and her being mean to Peter, well, like those are both wrong, kind of ish. She is hostile to Peter because she is torn about Peter and Paul. And it's very much like how in a breakup is that Peter is trying to reach out. Because, yeah, to him it's a big whiplash. He doesn't know what happened. And to be fair to the readers, it's a big whiplash. You're not expecting what happened. But for MJ's perspective, she's trying to be mean to Peter because she, to a certain degree, blames him. To a certain degree, she also understands that it's out of his control. And she's trying to really move on from Peter. And she's doing it aggressively by trying to cut off contact, which is how like a lot of breakups happen in real life. Divorces, breakups, and also like there's not really anything holding them two together. But like a lot of people do try to cut off contact, move on, and while one person may want to reach out and the other person doesn't, I don't think it's as like out of character and as unrealistic as Nabeel says it is. I think it is very normal for what she did, and like it's also not super out of character, especially because like she's been through a lot. It's been years. And she's torn, and the best way she can move on with Paul and this new family-ish is to just be hostile to Peter, to put him down. And to a certain degree, I don't think she blames him, but she's still upset about the fact that he didn't come to save her earlier. And to be fair, it's not his fault, but she's still upset about it because it's been years for her. She waited for him for at least, it's hinted, at least a year out of the 4. So she's still upset.
Yeah. That's fair. That makes sense. So she kind of had to just go through this one-sided thing on her own for 4 years without knowing anything.
Yeah, and
That's
when
tough.
she said, like, you don't know responsibility, I think it's implied. She said it directly to hurt and offend Peter, which is, breakups are messy, you know?
So what is Paul's role in that then? Like, does he help her move on other than like with his romantic attachment to her? Like, is he an emotional support? Is he just kind of like there, the only other human to talk to?
Well,
what is his role in that?
So MJ is not a main. It's okay. She's a main character, Spider, but she's like always been a side character technically to Peter. And Paul, maybe it's not the best written. I'll be honest. Like I read the comic where MJ tries to make it as her own hero, but under Paul, MJ goes from a side character who's supportive to being the main character who has someone to support her. And this Paul is supposed to be if Peter was never Spider-Man and all the burdens that come with Spider-Man.
So does that mean that Mary Jane becomes Spider-Man and Paul becomes MJ?
Yes, kind of. Although I will admit the comic where it happens was a rough read, but yes.
Interesting. Nabeel, thoughts?
You know, that would be interesting, seeing her become her own hero. I think the idea in and of itself is not a bad one. I think it's interesting too, having read this run, seeing, okay, now she gets what it feels like to walk a mile in Peter's shoes as a superhero. I just think the whole jackpot idea in and of itself, it's not something I can like accept because it's just kind of a stupid gimmicky power that is not so subtly like based off of her famous phrase, face it, tiger, you just hit the jackpot.
What is her power?
It's this wacky like Ben 10 level power. It's like a slot machine based off chance. She gets a specific power and is able to use it in that moment based off of what she rolls, is the whole thing.
Like a physical slot machine or like in her mind?
Not physical, just like this device she uses that they created. Yeah. Okay. It's a watch. It's literally like Ben 10 almost.
I've never seen Ben 10, but
in Ben 10 he has a watch where like he can choose between different aliens to transform into, which is similar to MJ has this device that she uses, and based off of metaphysical chance or whatever, it gives her a specific power she can use in that moment.
I feel like that's the best power. You just get every power whenever you want them.
It's kind of ridiculous and overpowered. And
canonically, I feel I'm one of the few people on this planet who've read Jackpot, the comic. It is not a good comic, But they do say in the comic, oh, some of these powers suck, so you actually have to hope you get a good roll. It's sort of like a lottery machine on your watch, and you get like a good power or a crappy power depending on what you roll.
Okay. Kind of like Sky High, like hero.
Yeah, exactly. But you're both,
the cool,
depending on what you
powers
get.
And like the sucky nerd powers. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
but I think
fun.
the whole thing is that not that she's a great hero or that like she's like a fun hero or that the powers are good or the costumes are good. It's the fact that she goes from a supporter to someone being supported, I feel is the big literary thing.
I honestly prefer her being Venom for several reasons. One, because I know it's a temporary thing, because Venom changes hosts now, like musical chairs now, like who's going to be the next Venom host at this point. And because I don't think every character needs to become a superhero. It's too much, especially in Spider-Man. The appeal of Spider-Man is him being a normal guy who happens to have superpowers and be a superhero, but he's also just a normal guy trying to live his regular life with like his regular supporting cast members that in his like normal everyday life. That's the appeal. When you start giving everyone superpowers, then it kind of just like takes you out of it and you're like, okay, now it's like Power Rangers or something. I don't know. It's like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, a cartoon which I love, but it's also like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friend is the exception, not the rule, is what I'm saying. And the Venom storyline, because it's temporary, means she's not going to be doing this forever, but I think it's also a good chance for her to walk a mile again in like Peter's shoes, because Peter has also been bonded to the Venom symbiote, and to also see what it's like living the life as a superhero and the sacrifices you make and the struggles that you go through. I think her breakup with Paul is indicative of this, because now she has to face up to reality that this isn't working and it hasn't been working for some time. And being Venom and living this life has shown her like it's just not happening. And so she needs to grow and move forward. And I think that's pretty cool. So, and it's way better than being Jackpot, because Jackpot, that's indicative of all the stupidity and a reminder of everything she went through in the Zeb Wells run when Paul was introduced to begin with. These fake kids were introduced and they were trapped in this dimension for years, and it tore her and Peter apart and created this miserable situation for the characters. All that to say, I'm supportive of her getting powers, if only temporarily. But like, also, we can't just like give her like these arbitrary powers. And I disagree with the idea that she is a side character, as Josh says in Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man and Mary Jane. That's like the iconic duo between the two of them. And I think she plays a crucial role in this story, and I think she deserves more than just being the on-again, off-again love interest or being made into this B-list hero like Jackpot. That's why I like All New Venom, is what I'm saying.
Do you think that it's weird that writers seem to always need to put female characters with men, couple them up, and have their storylines centered around marriage and children? Like, why couldn't the writers have just had Mary Jane stuck in this dimension on her own and have to deal with that? Why do they keep only showing the women as mothers and wives?
That's an excellent point.
For better or for worse, Spider-Man is like a superhero comic. MJ was not written to be a superhero, as opposed to like Wonder Woman or Rogue or X-23. Like, and also like, I'll be honest, like there are time in that dimension, as short as it was on pages, was pretty cool. It shows her like killing zombies and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It does. That does happen.
It's pretty badass.
She becomes like a commando.
And the thing with MJ is like, I kind of agree with Nabeel. You don't have to make every character a badass or a superhero. MJ was a fun and cool character, and she was very well developed, but she also was purely written to be Spider-Man's love interest, though after years. She's like a fan favorite for a very good reason. She and Spider-Man have this really strong relationship, though it's like, it is hard to justify her having her own solo story when in a comic about superheroes, she's like kind of like a non-superhero. There are some very good comics with female superheroes, you know, like Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Rogue, and all that. But like MJ's not a superhero, and her making her ones honestly can seem a little clumsy when they did it this time. There's been another few ones where she has gained temporary powers, and those are generally pretty fun to read.
Yeah, another example being Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, where she has this device that she wears that helps her. She gets to siphon off a bit of Peter's spider powers when she uses it. And I think that's not to make her a full-time superhero, but when she needs it to stop some crime or protect her children or protect her family, she can use it, and she's able to stand on that same footing with Peter and gives her a bit of an advantage. That makes sense, rather than just giving her arbitrary powers and making her go off and be a superhero with Paul as her guy on the chair.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I think to answer your question also, Annika, just generally, I think it would have been interesting if she was trapped in this dimension and had to fend for herself without a man there and children there to start a family. And because I think that does kind of do a disservice to her character, because then it's not about her, it's about how this storyline affects Peter mainly.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to like make up for that by making her jackpot, but at that point the damage had been done, because now it's just a story about Peter and his misery and his pain because MJ is now with Paul and they can't be together, and she has kids. And now her whole motivation for being a superhero is because of these stupid kids. That's like the whole thing. It's not something out of the own goodness of her heart or her own backstory in any kind of way. It's tied to her being with this guy and raising a family and that disappearing. I think that kind of sucks for a female character.
Do you think that the presence of the children is what drives her hostility towards Peter when he returns? Is that why she's so adamant to not even have a discussion about it?
I think it's just one factor of a few, to be honest. That's my take. Paul, it's the children, it's the time, it's the stress. I think it's many factors.
She's under a lot of stress. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
But it's still tough too, because a lot of the reason she is staying with Paul is because of the children too. Now they have a whole family. It might have been a different story if it was just her and Paul the whole time and they came back. What would that have looked like?
I think so.
But now they're like, oh, she has to stay with her family. Which, again, as I explained when I explained MJ's backstory with her abusive family history and things that have gone on there, it kind of sucks to like tie her down to a family and feel like she needs to be with them now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very universal thing, I think, for women. It's, it's real, it's true, but yeah, it's too bad.
I was going to say, I think she does genuinely love Paul. He is supposed to be a similar-ish enough to Peter, who's the other character she obviously loves. So it's not just the kids. Because they were already really close. So in the comics, they were already developing a really close relationship before the kids. And after the kids, they still stayed together. So it is more than just the kids. The reason after the kids she doesn't just go to Peter is because at this point, she has this established relationship with with Paul. She's not just going to suddenly just ditch Paul to be with Peter now that the thing that maybe perhaps brought them together is gone. I think we might be overemphasizing the role of these fake children here.
Well, definitely, because they disappear.
Yeah, they disappear. Fuck them kids.
The writers clearly didn't think they were important enough to stick around.
It's a weird thing.
But what's there to love about Paul?
Paul, okay, Peter is supposed to be the everyman. And, I don't think they should have broken up the marriage. I honestly think that's, a terrible decision that, ruins so much character work and just has, hurt Spider-Man as a character and MJ as a character. But they already did it. You might as well just finish off the relationship with a Paul-sized rock. Yeah, a Paul-sized rock. Yeah, I said it. And also, Peter goes to struggle to see everyman, and I don't know, being cucked is the one everyman thing that has not happened to him yet. Yeah, I'm against the misery porn, but maybe
that's
this is what
an everyman thing?
It happened to a few of us. Some people on this
interdimensional travel and getting your girlfriend stolen.
Yeah, well, it happened to some of us on this, this podcast right now.
Some of us.
Yeah, some of us.
Josh, is there something you want to share with the class?
I think people can infer what I meant by that. But, look, I think Peter needs to move on from MJ. I think Paul is a good rock that shattered that relationship. I keep using that one. It's okay. It happened. Look, one more day shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. Instead of just getting these weird stories of them getting out together and back together, because it hurts both those characters, it might be better for MJ to just become a friend. And one of the better moments in Zeb Wells' run is when Peter goes, I need to talk to my friends, and he meets back up with MJ, and they meet over a bar and they share drinks, meaning it is possible for both of them to move on from each other and become friends again.
Listen, any rebuttal, Nabeel? You agree with that?
It's Peter and MJ. It's like Lois and Clark. It's like Batman and Catwoman.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Barry and Iris. The list goes on and on and on. It's not something you can just end for good is the problem. That's the thing. And I don't think that's really a problem, but that's a problem for the argument you make. You say that Peter should just move on and they should end it for good. But I don't see that happening. They're too iconic of a couple, too iconic of a pairing that go together so well that if you just end it, then what is there left? You're never gonna find anyone as iconic and as well matched with Peter as MJ, especially given their place in pop culture. This even transcends the comics. Look at the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, like MJ. Everyone knows MJ. Look at the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. The big cliffhanger in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon is he still has to find the real MJ and like go to this other dimension with Madam Web. Don't worry about it. She knows she's a major character in the Spectacular Spider-Man. Even MJ, even if it's not Mary Jane, she's a major character in the Tom Holland movies. I feel like at this point, it's become such a cultural touchstone in the superhero genre for Peter and MJ to be a thing that you can't just end that for good. That's just not going to happen. I don't see it happening. And let me tell you, it's not going to happen with Shay, because like Paul, Shay barely has any defining qualities. His current love interest, Shay is a nurse at Ravencroft, Marvel's version of Arkham Asylum. I don't really know much else about Shay. I don't care to know much else about Shay, because there's not really anything there. They're just trying so hard. You know, I would have taken actually several love interests over Shay. I thought Carly Cooper was more interesting than Shay. For all the haters of Dan Slott's run out there, I liked Carly Cooper. There, I said it. She was smart. She's a forensic scientist. She and Peter can relate on science and stuff. She figured out Peter's identity. Yeah, I mean, given today's climate, being a cop might not be the best occupation for her. But anyways, that aside, all this to say, I don't see him moving on, and I definitely don't see him moving on with Shay. You're not going to see a movie like 10 years from now where it's like Peter Parker and Shay get together. Will. And hey, I might eat my words.
Existence.
MJ and he already broke up in the MCU.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens in the next Spider-Man movie, because the MCU managed to do One More Day better than the comics did. And so who knows what else they might do better than the current comics. With that being said, they might do Brand New Day better than the comics did.
I keep telling Nabeel I want Paul to show up in the MCU, and his played by Pete Davidson, and Tom Holland just made Zendaya hooking up with like Pete Davidson and Paul just to rub it in.
I would absolutely love that. See? I think a lot of people would enjoy that. Again, Marvel, if you're listening, please make it happen.
Pete Davidson is Paul. Pete Davidson is Paul.
See, even you like Paul at this point, or Paul Davidson.
I just think it would be funny.
I don't think MJ and Peter should be broken up, but DC has this thing where they could go back and keep things as solid and amber as they can. Marvel doesn't or isn't supposed to do that. They have a thing where Reed and Sue gets married. They have a thing where Cyclops moves on from Jean and moves on with Emma, and Jean and Cyclops and Wolverine and a few other people are in open relationships. It's like, look, MJ and Peter, it's a toxic relationship at this point. They need to move on and love each other again as friends. And like, I don't know, before MJ there was Gwen Stacy, and who actually is the love interest who has moved on to become like her own thing, like purely her own thing at this point.
She also died like 50 years ago.
Yeah. And in 50 years, we're going to go, hey, kids, remember when MJ and Peter were together? They were iconic.
She's still alive. She's still alive. The possibility is still there.
Her. Yeah.
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah. But look, my point is unless you want things frozen in amber, which the point of Marvel is to not keep things frozen in amber, despite how much corporate wants it to be and not want it to be at the same time, you need to have, like, Peter and MJ just get on. Like, yeah, it sucks, but Peter has had other love interests that are famous, like Gwen. And Marvel
Gwen's dead.
Gwen's dead, but she comes back as
well. Famous.
She's still famous. She's played by Haley Steinfeld and Emma Stone. And
Spider-Gwen is a totally different character.
And it's who?
Spider-Gwen is also Emma a teenager, Watson. So that's illegal.
Emma Stone.
Emma Watson never played.
Emma Stone.
Why do you keep calling her Emma?
Let's hope you say, okay. And the other one is other Marvel characters have a multiple love interest. They move on, they break up. That's the thing with Marvel, is that you don't need to keep things in solid amber like DC does. That's my take on keeping MJ and Peter together. I don't think they should have broken up, but they broke up. So what you gonna do?
And where's the Paul in all of that? They could be broken up and you still don't need Paul there.
That's true, yeah.
She could be single.
That's true. She doesn't need to be with Paul.
She doesn't need to be with Paul, but Paul cucking Peter is the thing that ends that relationship for good.
And you're a fan of that.
It's had to have happened one way. This happened. You can't move past it.
Had to happen.
It had to happen.
Okay.
Like,
What are you, Doctor Strange? You think this is like
It
the
had
one
to
reality
happen.
in which we won?
it happened.
You're like, there was no other way.
Yes, there's no other way. Like, unless you go like MJ one day going, I hate Peter Parker, which I guess she does with Paul and Peter. But honestly, look, it's Paul is the irreparable thing that breaks up MJ and Peter. Paul cucking Peter ends Peter MJ forever.
Okay, that's a great closing statement, Nabeel.
All right, well, I gave my solutions to this problem.
Your solutions are insane.
All right, well, let me
Let's
repeat.
recap.
All right, first, you can just make it so that the MJ that came back from this other dimension isn't the real one. Problem solved. I actually do think they could easily go the Superman route and merge Ultimate and Mainline Peter and MJ, so that way they kind of streamline it. And I know, Josh, you said that this was too convoluted and people will complain about that. Well, let me tell you something. The Parallax retcon with Hal Jordan was kind of convoluted. People ran with it. Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run, by so many people, is considered the definitive Green Lantern run, even after that convoluted retcon. And people could just start from there, not question it, and keep going, and that's their Green Lantern. And so many people probably say Hal Jordan's their favorite Green Lantern, despite his convoluted past history. Wally West had a convoluted history where he was erased from history when the New 52 happened, and then he came back, but then his wife didn't remember him and his kids didn't exist, and then a lot of convoluted stuff happened where it seemed like he was a murderer, and then he sat on Metron's chair and became omnipotent or something, but they eventually brought him back, and he's the Flash again, and it doesn't matter because everyone loves Wally West as the Flash. All right, that's the thing. So like,
No one
it
is
doesn't
arguing that.
And the Beast solution, that was convoluted, but at the end of the day, everyone loves having happy-go-lucky Beast back. So, like, I don't care how convoluted it is, and everyone loves, maybe not everyone, but it's generally well-loved. I shouldn't say everyone for these, but it's generally well-loved that the Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason Superman run, which happens during DC Rebirth, when pre-New 52 Superman and post-New 52 Superman merge together, and he has a wife and a kid, and everyone's happy. So, suck it, Josh. I don't know what else to say.
Into the nuclear family picture, aren't you?
I didn't like
Just
the
give him
Beast.
a wife and a kid.
I mean,
a great
listen,
American family.
like, if you give a guy a
get him a
boyfriend or
husband.
get him a husband. I don't like.
Well, I'll defend the Superman stuff because they have a gay kid, so it evens out.
Yeah, he
Sure.
is bisexual, to be specific. Yes, Jonathan Kent, his son in the new Superman.
Name drop. Okay.
But anyways, all this to say, no matter how convoluted the solution may be, I still believe you can solve this problem and you can move past this and we can enjoy Spider-Man comics once again. Paul is not the root cause of the problem of Spider-Man comics today, but he is a symptom, and a symptom that I would say is best left removed. So, bottom line, as my closing statement, I'm happy MJ and Paul broke up, and I hope they stay broken up forever.
Okay. Pretty solid. Josh, any final remarks?
I agree. Paul is not the problem. He is a symptom of the problem. I think the problem was One More Day. And that being said, I hate these convoluted retcons. I think they're stupid. I think 9 out of 10 of them I don't like. I don't like the fact that, like, you gotta, like, know 80 years of knowledge to know why this changed. But I think with Spider-Man, you could solve it by keeping Paul and just having him and MJ broken up and him moving on. I think Paul could be the solution to this problem with Spider-Man.
That's disgusting.
By having him move on from this toxic relationship with that redhead. Yep, thank you. Oops, my dog woke up.
With that redhead.
Okay, well done.
Yeah.
All right, Annika, do you have any final thoughts you want to share?
I don't think so. I think it was a solid debate. I was swayed to one side and then I was swayed to the other. I think, whatever happens with Paul's storyline, I agree. I think MJ needs to just be on her own for a little bit. You go, girl. Just date yourself, queen.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, excellent.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to moderate this discussion, Annika.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for showing
Always
up.
happy to have you on.
Yeah, always
Please
a pleasure.
come back anytime.
We love having guests on, though it's mostly been you.
It has.
Despite our best attempts to get other people, it's
Yeah, I just have a lot of free time on my hands, so.
Oh, so who doesn't these days?
Yeah, I mean, so do we. So, fair enough.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on. We'll be happy to have you back anytime. And until next time, everyone, you can email us about your thoughts about Paul, about Spider-Man, about comics in general, about our show or anything. Josh, what's our email?
It is ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com. That's comics plural, podcast singular. ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com. And we should do a poll to see what do people think.
That's right.
Yeah, let their voices be heard. We need to know. Do we have Paul
Yeah.
lovers or Paul haters?
I don't think there's any Paul lovers out there.
Who knows? There could be some first-world
There
anarchists
might
out there
be.
who want to watch the world burn. But yes, we will run a poll. We have plenty of social media where we'll do that. So you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. That is at Ultimate Comics Podcast for all of them.
Yeah.
So reach out and share your thoughts and follow along. And we'd love to hear from you. We love all our followers. But yeah, until next time, I think we will get back to our regularly scheduled programming next time. Hopefully, we still have Ultimate X-Men number 50 through 53 to get to.
Yeah.
So read along with us then. And we look forward to it. But until then, take care, everyone, and make mine Ultimate Marvel. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.